Stephen Guilbeault is caught using taxpayer dollars to pay off his court penalties. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. And I hope you're all getting ready for a lovely weekend. Hopefully, you're going to be able to stay warm, stay inside. It seems in Alberta, especially, we've paid enough carbon tax to get a white Christmas. So it's going to be a cold one with the snow hitting the ground. But what was even colder to find out as the week was coming to an end is Stephen Guilbeault. If you're unaware of what went on between Stephen Guilbeault and Ezra Levant from Revel News, well, Ezra took Stephen Guilbeault to court over being blocked on Twitter. This was a fight that had been going on for over 2 years. And we're going to get into a bit of what Ezra had to say about why he was blocked. But the court had ordered Stephen Guilbeault to pay $20,000 in restitution for, I'm assuming, the costs of going to court, wasting his time, any kind of damages that would do to their organization, to report the news. And as we go on here, it's going to become more and more relevant. But here's the problem that's gone on with that. And here's the issue with the whole mess of it. Now, call what you want of Rebel News and say what you want to do. But here's what we found out today, that today was the deadline, or yesterday was the deadline, for the funds to be awarded. And the funds had been awarded to Ezra Levant in the case against Stephen Guilbeault. But they're paid by Canadian taxpayers. This is a Government of Canada check. And as we click on the image, you can see here $20,000. They issued it November the 30th. Paid to Williamson Law and Trust, care of Chad Williamson, Ezra's lawyers. $20,000. This is the Government of Canada Justice Department. Why are Canadian taxpayers footing the bill for Stephen Guilbeault's mess-ups? Now, some people might say, well, he works for the government, and this was a lawsuit against a government official. Doesn't Stephen Guilbeault get a paycheck? Doesn't Stephen Guilbeault make his own money that he can afford $20,000 to pay off his own debts? It wasn't actually the government that was sued in this case. It was Stephen Guilbeault as a person, which I find alarming. I'm sorry. I'm very to the point, and this, as I stare at it, it just gives you that awful taste in your mouth, knowing that, listen, while Ezra had every right to go after Stephen Guilbeault, we've all given Stephen Guilbeault a nice little Christmas gift. He's off the hook. This gives government officials permission to essentially do whatever they want. Can you imagine being at a job where you get a speeding ticket and the company pays for it? You want to go on vacation, the company pays for it. You want to pay your bills, the company pays for it. Why are politicians even getting a paycheck if they never actually have to spend any of their own money while in service to the people of Canada? I'll remind you that Stephen Guilbeault is a convicted felon. Now, we want to know what happened over this lawsuit. Let's get into this old archived article from September from the National Post. Canada's Environment Minister has earned a rebuke in court for blocking a contentious commentator on X, formerly known as Twitter. On Monday, back in September, the federal court Justice Russell Zinn issued a consent order concluding legal action filed 2 years ago by Rebel News founder Ezra Levant, who took Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault to court after he blocked Levant's account, which would prevent Levant from seeing or replying to Guilbeault's tweets in his own feed. The Honourable Minister, if you can even call him any form of honourable, Stephen Guilbeault, shall immediately cause the account at xguilbeault to unblock the following account X on the platform formerly known as Twitter, Zinn wrote in his 2-page brief order referring to Levant's X account at Ezra Levant. Zinn also ordered Guilbeault and his staff to not block Levant on X during the balance of his time as a member of Parliament. Guilbeault was ordered to pay Levant $20,000 within 90 days or 3 months. According to the consent order, the decision came as a result of a resolution between both parties, meaning it was settled. The suit was originally filed in federal court in March of 2021. Levant told National Post that Guilbeault using the block button to shut out dissent is equivalent to weaponization of the state against his critics, which I agree with. I don't think that any politician has the right to block people on social media, especially news outlets. Some people might think being blocked by the government on Twitter is a trifle, but it is a principle. Can a cabinet minister cut you off from a government service just because you're a political opponent? And if they can, what other services can they restrict? Levant said, describing the decision as a rejection of cancel culture. While Guilbeault's office declined to comment, government sources said that a number of factors weighed into the decision to resolve the case rather than battle it out in the courts, including recent comments made by ex-owner Elon Musk that he was considering doing away with the blocking feature altogether. The decision to settle was also reportedly linked to the assignment of Zinn to the case, a federal court judge who had previously ruled in favor of Rebel News during the news organization's battle to gain media accreditation for the 2019 English language federal leaders debate during the year's federal election. Now, if you remember what happened there, Rebel News was actually blocked from attending the federal debate while we're trying to decide who to run the country. Now, of course, that was a fear campaign. That was a campaign based on the dirty versus the clean, I guess you could say. And Trudeau, of course, getting away with his minority government. But he lost a majority government in that election, thus creating his partnership, as you could say, with Jagmeet Singh. But Rebel News, as accredited news organization, call them what you want to in terms of your opinion. I know people in my comments who tell me I don't watch Rebel, I don't like what Rebel puts out. That's fine. You can have your opinions, but they're still registered as a media outlet in Canada, and it's the power of the press. They have every right to attend those events for news coverage. It reads like a classic decision on part of a federal government or Guilbeault to settle to avoid the cost of going through a whole procedure, he said, referring to Jim Turk, director of Toronto Metropolitan University Centre of Free Expression, adding, it seems the government decided to cut their losses rather than take the issue further. I'm not sure why politicians choose to block rather than mute. It doesn't make sense to me, but I don't think this is going to have many implications one way or another. In terms of the Canadian Internet Policy and Public Interest Clinic, they hold the view that blocking individuals on social media by public officials infringes upon freedom of speech and restricts access to public information. I wholeheartedly agree. This is especially relevant as social media becomes increasingly instrumental for public communication. So, why is it again, as we go to Rebel's page, now this is issued yesterday, December the 7th, despite arguing his account was personal, this is why I have the issue. If Ezra Levant took the Canadian government to court, not Stephen Guilbeault, then the Canadian government most likely would pay the fees. But despite arguing his account was personal, Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault paid his debt using tax dollars. Ezra Levant is calling on Guilbeault to pay the money back to the people. Yeah, we shouldn't be on the hook for this lunatic's instability. Last week, Rebel News reported how time was running out for Environment Minister Stephen Guilbeault to pay his debt after settling a lawsuit launched by Ezra Levant, who was formerly blocked on X. While the minister might seem trivial on the surface, Guilbeault's account is an official government account. This means that not only are staff involved with the account, it's also providing a government service. On last night's episode of the Ezra Levant Show, Ezra revealed that the $20,000 check had arrived in time before the deadline, but it came with a catch. The check came from the Government of Canada, not Stephen Guilbeault, which certainly deferred from the minister's legal defense. Ezra explained the lawsuit names Stephen Guilbeault, not the Government of Canada. He claims it was a personal Twitter account. That's what he said. And he personally is bound by the court order to keep us unbanned from the rest of his career. Him personally. But look who paid the $20,000 for it. It was Guilbeault who blocked us. It was Guilbeault who claimed it was his personal account, not a government account. And it was Guilbeault who fought for 2.5 years, foisting the cost onto taxpayers for his lawyers. It was Guilbeault who was ordered to pay and not block me for the rest of his career. It was Guilbeault. But look at the check. Look at how the money came. Guilbeault didn't pay a cent. You did. Because Guilbeault is trying to weasel out of paying his debt when violating Canadians' rights, Rebel News is calling on him to pay the money back. Go to paythemoneyback.ca, sign the petition demanding Guilbeault pay his own $20,000 penalty and not pass it on to taxpayers. Let's see if we can get 20,000 people to sign it. Ezra will try to hand it off to Guilbeault himself. So head over to that website, folks, paythemoneyback.ca. I've signed the petition. I would encourage you to do the same. And again, this isn't really about Rebel News so much as it's about the Liberal government constantly thinking they're above the law. Now, Justin Trudeau has given himself some new titles as the week has gone on that stinks of corruption, and I'll have a video coming out about that on Monday. So stay tuned for that. I've had enough of this Liberal government. I hate reporting on this all the time because it feels like it's just scandal after scandal after drama, and it never goes away. And let's be honest, it's not going to go away until this party is completely eliminated off the map. But when you look at recent polling, when you look at what's going on, as we head into whenever the next federal election may be, whether it's in 2024 or 2025, the NDP are now overtaking the Liberals in seats. I'd be happy if the Liberals were left with 2 or 3 seats when this was all over and were no bigger than the Green Party. That would be phenomenal. They've completely decimated Canada. They're running us into the ground. And again, at a time of year when we're supposed to be happy and thinking about spending time with family and being together for a holiday, well, none of us can afford that because of carbon taxes, because of this government constantly putting their iron boot on the heads of their citizens. And now Stephen Guilbeault saying, just let the taxpayer pay my fines. Who cares? Why should I pay it? I'm a pig at a trough. Mr. Convicted felon who's a loose cannon. Sue me for defamation if you want, because I don't think I've defamed Stephen Guilbeault in any way, shape, or form. I'm being honest. This man is a menace, and he's an absolute danger and risk to every Canadian in this country. Danielle Smith did an amazing panel on CBC yesterday taking questions from around Canada. And she had the same thing to say about Stephen Guilbeault, that he is, a very liable and very threatening risk to this country, more or less. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Are you going to sign the petition? I sure hope so. There are a few petitions going around. Again, I'll be covering the latest petition that we talked about earlier in the week to vote for no confidence against the government. I'm going to wait for the weekend to wrap up so we can get exact numbers. But we'll be talking about those petitions. Please sign this petition. Again, do I think it's going to do much? No. But any chance we get to really hold this government accountable, we should be taking opportunities. We should be using them as an example to use what little speech we have left. Let me know what you guys think down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're subscribing to the channel, you click your bell for notifications as videos like this happen to get on the shadow ban list and don't get distributed as much. So while you're also clicking that bell, make sure to like, comment, share the video, do all the usual YouTube stuff. It helps us in the algorithm and ensures that other people are able to see this content as well as all of our other content and get real news instead of fake media lies. Join us Sunday night here on the channel when we do our weekly wrap, as we do every Sunday, where we hang out on the channel. We talk about everything that's gone on in the previous week, everything happening in the week ahead. Maybe we'll tap in on this this petition on the weekend and see what kind of numbers we're looking at for signatures. We'll talk a little bit more about this, but I also get to talk a little bit back and forth with my community and get to know you guys outside of making these videos. It's always great to do that, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you try to have somewhat of a great weekend after seeing a video like this. I'll catch you on the next one.